Hello, my name is Muhammad Khalid,
And my name is Boris Afghanko.
and we'll be talking about lung mechanics. So to start off with, we'll be talking about the diaphragm in relation to breathing. Now, breathing is also known as pulmonary ventilation, and it is the process of air flowing into the lungs during inspiration, otherwise known as inhalation, and out of the lungs during expiration, otherwise known as exhalation. Now, air flows because of pressure differences between the atmosphere and the gases inside the lungs. Now, the diaphragm relaxes, forcing air out of the lungs. The alveolar pressure fluctuations are caused by expansion and contraction of the lungs resulting from tension and relaxing of the muscles of the chest and the abdomen. When exhaling, the diaphragm relaxes and the alveolar pressure increases. However, when you breathe in, also known as inhalation, or inhale, your diaphragm contracts and moves downward. This increases the space in your chest cavity and your lungs expand into it. The muscles between your ribs also help enlarge the chest cavity. They contract to pull your rib cage both upward and outward when you inhale.
Then we have accessory muscles and intercostal muscles. The intercostal muscles are several groups of muscles that run between the ribs and help form and move the chest wall. The intercostal muscles are mainly involved in the mechanical aspect of breathing. These muscles help expand and shrink the size of the chest cavity to facilitate breathing. Active inspiration involves the contraction of the accessory muscles of breathing. All of these muscles act to increase the volume of the thoracic cavity. We have the scalenes, which elevate the upper ribs. Then we have the sternocleidomastoids, which elevate the sternum, and I just banged that pronunciation. And we have the trapezius, which keeps posture and lifts the upper body.
Alright, so volume and pressure. Now, Boyle's law is a physics law which states that pressure of a gas is inversely proportional to the volume. This law is valid as long as the temperature and the amount of gas are constant. It is a law stating that the pressure of a given mass of an ideal gas is essentially inversely proportional to a volume at a constant pressure. The thoracic cavity or chest cavity always has a slight negative pressure which aids in keeping the airways of the lungs open. During the process of inhalation, also known as inspiration, the lung volume expands as a result of the contraction of the diaphragm and intercostal muscles, which are the muscles that are connected to the rib cage, thus expanding the thoracic cavity. Due to this increase in volume, the pressure is decreased, based on the principles of Boyle's law. This decrease of pressure in the thoracic cavity relative to the environment makes the cavity pressure less than the atmospheric pressure. This pressure gradient between the atmosphere and the thoracic cavity allows air to rush into the lungs. Inhalation occurs as a result. Now, the resulting increase in volume is largely attributed to an increase in alveolar space because the bronchioles and the bronchi are stiff structures that do not change in size.
During this process, the chest wall expands out and away from the lungs. The lungs are elastic. Therefore, when air fills the lungs, the elastic recoil within the tissues of the lung exerts pressure back toward the interior of the lungs. These outward and inward forces compete to inflate and deflate the lung with every breath. Upon exhalation, the lungs recoil to force the air out of the lungs. The intercostal muscles relax, returning the chest wall to its original position. During exhalation, the diaphragm also relaxes, moving higher into the thoracic cavity. This increases the pressure within the thoracic cavity relative to the environment. Air rushes out of the lungs due to pressure gradient between the thoracic cavity and the atmosphere. This movement of air out of the lungs is classified as a passive event since there are no muscles contracting to expel the air.
Alright, thank you for listening to our presentation. Hello, I'm Muhammad Khalid,
Yeah, I'm Boris Afghanko.
and we'll be talking about. I forgot what we're saying. Hello, I'm Muhammad Khalid, and this is Boris Lavgonkov, and we'll be talking about lung mechanics. Okay, so
Oh my god. The intercostal muscles. I fucked that up.
And the gases inside the lungs. Now the diaphragm relaxes, forcing air out of the lungs. The alveolar pressure fluctuation. Oh my god, I messed up.